to honor today's honorees. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Lee Wilson. I'm the president of the board of the Association of Education Publishers. And it is a pleasure to welcome you all to the 2012 Hall of Fame ceremony. Today, we honor lifetime achievement over many, many years in the interests of our education community. And there's three folks that we are honoring today: Karen Billings, Dick Casaban, and Marjorie Mayer. Each of these individuals in their own way represents the best of our industry. And all of us are united in this common cause of helping kids learn more effectively. One of them has explored the potential of technology in the classroom at very deep levels. Another has spurred publishers to reach out to new technologies in international markets. And another one has attacked our nation's literacy crisis head-on. The careers of this year's honorees reflect their commitment to engaging students in their own education and helping them reach their full potential. Before we begin, I'd like to thank the members of the AEP Board of Directors who are here with us today. Next, I'd like to thank our many sponsors, and please take note of who they are in the program. I would like to make one specific shout out to McGraw-Hill for hosting today's festivities. It simply wouldn't be possible for us to host this event right here in the middle of New York without their generous support. Now I would like to introduce Kathy Hurley, Executive Vice President, Education Alliances at the Pearson Foundation, and she's going to present our first honoree. Come on up, Kathy.
Good morning. I first want to say how honored I am to have been asked to speak about Karen Billings for her induction into the Hall of Fame. And I also want to congratulate two other good friends of mine, which would be Dick Casaban and Marjorie Mayer, for getting this prestigious award. Honestly, I've been working on these remarks for 4 months. And one of the exercises I did prior to putting these together was to send out a survey to close friends of Karen's and ask them the qualities that they think of Karen when they think of her. You won't be the least bit surprised to find out that they all have the same descriptions: kind, gracious, understated, smart, knowledgeable, experienced, hardworking, fun-loving, self-deprecating, and loyal. And I'm sure these are all the traits that her brothers and sisters think that she has. In fact, acknowledging her, they had a few other things to say, but acknowledging her brothers and sisters, they are here today. So, and Roger and his wife Beth are here, as well as Karen's sister Verlaine and husband John, and also family members Michael and Cynthia. So I know Karen is really thrilled to have you with her on this very special day. All the adjectives I mentioned before describe Karen and underscore exactly why she has been chosen to be inducted in the Hall of Fame. Karen Billings is a modern-day example of the all-American girl from the Midwest who, using her salt-to-the-earth work ethic, made it to the big city. Karen was born into a farming family in 1945 in Britt, Iowa. As an aside, Britt is just a stone's throw from Mason City, Iowa. And I wanted to say that because Karen's a big movie aficionado, so you should know that is where The Music Man was filmed. Growing up in Britt, Karen not only attended a one-room schoolhouse, but she sometimes rode to the schoolhouse on horseback. Who knew? I would dare to say the most technology-savvy component of the school at the time was the blackboard. So I feel like you've come a long way, baby. So she truly had a picturesque Norman Rockwell childhood as she went to the schoolhouse during the day, but also helped work the farm, which included growing soybeans, corn, and raising wild turkeys and pigs. While she may have had to toil on the farm to help out, education was in her DNA. Her father was on the school board, her mother was a homemaker who made sure that her kids got a great education. She also nurtured her musical ambitions, and I actually forget if she either played a trumpet or a clarinet, but one of them, in the school band. And of course, like myself, she was in 4-H. Your head to clear thinking, your heart to greater loyalty, your hands to greater service, your health to better living, your club, country, and community. Unlike me, however, Karen had a knack for numbers and technology. And from high school, went into the University of Northern Iowa, where she majored in mathematics. After teaching math in a junior high school for a couple of years, she went into the University of Oregon to earn her master's degree. And I have to tell you this little short story because some of you know Dave Morrison, who actually was at the university at the time. And he taught Karen in writing a book with him. And she did that. But instead of paying her royalties, he convinced her that he'd give her a lifetime membership to ISTE. So money was never on Karen's mind. After she received her master's from Oregon, she went to work for Houghton Mifflin in Boston, which is when I had the good fortune to meet her in the early 80s. Don't start counting backwards to how long we've known each other. She started Houghton Mifflin and moved to Logo in New York, where she worked with the legendary Seymour Papert. After a few years in New York, she just couldn't help herself and decided she wanted to get a doctorate at Teachers College. And after several grueling years and a lot of cheerleading from her friends, she finished her EDD. While she was at Teachers College, she worked with another education technology industry legend, John Seely Brown. After receiving her doctorate from Teachers College, Karen decided it was time to move back west. And let me tell you, she probably had the most life-changing first week in a new location of anyone I've ever met. During her first week in California, she bought a car, bought a house, started a new job, and met her future husband. How's that setting for a new course? By the way, her new job was at Claris, so I got to meet her because I was at IBM at the time, and she actually brought Claris, which was an Apple company, together to work with IBM. So I witnessed this, these two kind of giants coming together. And her future husband. Well, I'm happy to say it's her current husband. Many of you know Jim and know he is a wonderful part of the education technology community, part of our industry. As a matter of fact, when Karen got married in 1989, it was like a big industry event in California. And many of the people in the room were at that wedding. And another intersection we had was when I got married, Charles and I got married in 1989. Karen said to me, "Who's your photographer?" I went, "I forgot to get a photographer." She said, "I'll do it." So she was my official photographer in our wedding. In 1989, Karen made another big change. She moved to Seattle, where she began working for Microsoft. And then she moved over to MediaSeek, where she worked with the legendary, who do you know, Michael J. And they were eventually purchased by Big Chalk, and from Big Chalk, where she worked with Bobby Kirshan, she made another big geographical move and landed in Washington, D.C. at SIIA, where she spent the better part of a decade growing the education division into the largest sector of SIIA. I'm sure at the time she took the job, it wasn't as evident now, but looking back, it's really apparent that Karen had, prior to IRA, really all of her experience led her to the door. She had such broad experience, print, digital, academic, research, product development, all assets that has enabled her to be an exceptional leader at SIIA. Her listening skills, patience, strategic mindset, and visionary capabilities have made the organization stronger. And I know firsthand because I've been on the SIIA Education Board as well as the General Board. But I have to tell you, her attributes speak for herself. Just yesterday, Katie Gilligan, I don't know if she's here, she just said, "This is such a great honor for Karen because she really presided over this explosive growth of the industry." And I said, I'm going to use that because that's exactly what happened. She doubled I think Ken said, I said, almost tripled the membership to 200 active companies. She doubled attendance at SIIA's signature events, which we had one this week. She created the SIIA Innovation Incubator Program. She created the one-to-one business connections meetings, and she's grown the SIIA Cody Awards from 7 to 21, 400 entries last year. Many of her board members are here today. So I think you'll agree with me when I say she had a busy 10 years. Well, there's no doubt that Karen's professional life is chock full of achievements worthy of induction into the Hall of Fame. Her personal life is full of the same type of achievements and commitments to excellence. For two people with their doctorates in education, they are not policy wonks. Both she and Jim are lovers of fine arts, world travelers, and bird watchers. Bet you didn't know that. Movie aficionados and photography experts. I think Karen actually knows more about movies than I do because we have this movie retreat every year, and she always knows more trivia than I do, which is saying something. But speaking about her personal life, I can say that ever since I met Karen in Boston, those many decades ago, I've always counted her as a close personal friend, and know many of our industry have as well. As I mentioned in the beginning, I asked a couple of people to share things. I'm just going to go through this real fast. But Karen, Linda Roberts, who couldn't be here today, said that Karen really helped her when she was Secretary of Education. She always would turn to Karen to find out what kinds of decisions she should be making. Deb DeVries and Paula Malon recount how Karen just has this gentle manner that puts anyone at ease around her. And they marvel, how does she get everything done that she has to do? But perhaps a more appropriate word to use to describe Karen's style is inclusive. She never discounts anyone and never has had a negative word to say about anyone. And I have to tell you, that's very rare today. Finally, our good friend Jenny House said that Karen's always been at the forefront of education technology. In the early 80s, she started a retreat. She's traveled all over the country looking for good wine, good food, good spas with her industry friends. She's always supportive, has a wry sense of humor, and brings a sense of order to what the moment seems like. It could be chaos, but she makes it seem very seamless. In that sense, in the calm of the midst of chaos, it's most evident when Jim and Karen lost everything to a fire. I don't know whether you remember that. Her resilience and spirit and persistence were a fine example for all of us. The silver lining was that her friends got to take her to go shopping. And I was able, for a change, because Karen was always picking out my clothes, we were bringing things in and saying, you have to buy this, you have to buy this. So in closing, we're here in New York City, a long way from that Iowa farmhouse, where little girl rode her horse to school. As we toast Karen and her remarkable career in this wonderfully remarkable industry, I just want to say, and I've added, I think some of you remember from when I was inducted in the Hall of Fame, we did the Thanks for the Memories, so I've kind of changed this a little bit for Karen. So I just want to read through this, and then I'm going to have Karen, we're going to see a video. So here's Thanks for the Memories, Karen. Thanks for the memory of champagne and fine wine, Peter Lee's parties, which are now MDR parties, in New York in the wintertime. How lovely it was. Now, I could sing this, but I didn't want to. I did not want to do that. I could. Thanks for the memory of ISTE, COSN, and SIIA, and the conferences that never cease, plane trips from west to east. How lovely it was. Many times we sat up all night just trying to get the strategy right. Oh well, we made up to sleep on the plane. Although many times we were drained, we got the job done. And thanks for the memory of dolls' dinners and sharing tales of secrets and stories and wish you wells. How lovely it was. Thanks for the memory of wonderful weddings with our friends, shopping sprees we hope would never end. Thank you so much. There were days we tried our mortal soul, from technology not working to feeling old. How lovely it was. And thanks for the memory of spa trips and movie nights, to computer jargon and tech bites. How lovely it was. From trips to coast, the room service with toast. We couldn't ask for more, except for one more shopping spree or spot treatment with tea. How lovely it was. So thanks for the memories. Hope all your dreams have come true. I bet you never knew how awfully glad I am to have met you. Many more memories from all of your friends, Karen. We're so happy for you. And now with video.
10 years ago, when we had a vacancy at the head of our education division, I thought to myself, why not recruit the best? I'd heard of Karen Billings and I'd met her several times at industry conferences. But never in my wildest dreams did I really believe that I was going to be successful at persuading Karen and her husband Jim to pack up their house in Washington, move clear across the country here to Washington, D.C., and head our education division. And boy, was I right, we are the luckiest people around. I mean, Karen not only is an industry visionary, she's an operational whiz, and she engenders the greatest loyalty among the people she works with and the members she serves.
When I was running the Office of Education Technology for President Clinton, for the Clinton administration, Karen was one of the people I always went to.
It really makes sense to me that she's put in the Hall of Fame. I think because she's really making a difference for industry, bringing together partnerships that are meaningful and really getting us to a place where we know what learning looks like today.
So it's been a great inspiration for me to have known Karen all these years and still see her pushing the envelope.
I have tremendous respect and admiration for Karen's ability.
She gives much more of herself than a lot of people do, and I think that really sets her apart.
And she just has a fundamental niceness. She wants things to work. She brings people together. She's a real doer. She doesn't sit on her hands and say things aren't working. She makes it happen.
As I kid her sometimes, it's sometimes surprising to see how an old broad can stay quite so current with all of the various new technologies and activities going on in the industry.
Karen always delivered. She always told me what I needed to know, and if she didn't know the answer, she could always connect me to other people in the industry.
So working side by side with someone who shares your values like that is always energizing, it's always motivational, and I couldn't be more thrilled to see her recognized this way. So congratulations, Karen.
Sensation, Karen Billings, coming to the stage. Yes, okay.
I didn't think I was going to get emotional. I knew that it was going to be easier than getting up in front of 35 eighth graders who typically don't want to be here, and I know that you all do, so that's great. I do want to make sure that I don't forget to thank some very special people this morning. First of all, Kathy, for, I don't know who all you talked to, but it was certainly fun to sort of relive your life that way. To Charlene and the AEP staff and the board and everyone who figured out a way to make this happen, and I'm really very, very thankful for that. To my family, who traveled here from Iowa and Minnesota, and somehow made it via taxis in the middle of, to Midtown last night during the tree lighting. They got there. I don't know how, but they did, and I really, really appreciate that. And before I forget, to Jim, for being my continual and long time and just supporter. People mentioned that I do all these things for others, but he's there helping. And the fact that he gives me that time to do so, I really, really appreciate. I think all of us, when we're in this kind of situation, would wish that our parents were here. And I know I do. My father would have been very, very proud. My mother would be sort of sitting there saying, "Oh, can you slow down?" To all of my friends, from especially the Teachers College days, because that was a community that, even just for the 4 years I've lived here, we've been able to stay in touch, some through the technology, but also to, of course, colleagues at SIIA And to all of those folks that made it here, I just appreciate the fact that you're here and that I am able to share this with you today. That's great. You know, education has sort of been the center of my life, and just very briefly, from coming home and realizing after my very first day of school, yes, in a one-room schoolhouse, that I wanted to be a teacher. Now, thank goodness I really enjoyed, you know, and appreciated my teacher. I mean, I had the same teacher for the first 4 years. Same teacher for the first 4 years. Of course, I was the only student in her class. But still, there were like 8 of us in the entire school. 8 grades, 8 of us. And 2 were my brothers. So you know, we shared a lot of time together. The next teacher I had for 2 years. I mean, thank goodness they were excellent teachers, because the first 6 years of my life were by these 2 very important unmarried, because at that point, if you got married, you stopped teaching. It's hard to believe how things have changed, and particularly in the era of technology, because I have lived those changes from you know, a career that started with teaching, but using IBM 360s to teach Fortran. Those kids never saw their computer because it was sitting on the University of Iowa campus. And I sort of marvel at the fact today we can, everybody was taking pictures with their iPhones and tweeting about it. It's a different era when we are communicating and collaborating. And it's not just about programming in whatever language. There's just so much work we can do with it, and I really, really appreciate that. And what I appreciate is the chance that, since I've been changing careers from going in the classroom to other places, I can just think that I'm still teaching. Whether just this week, working with the innovation incubator companies, they may have developed the world's greatest little iPad app that teaches very difficult mathematical concepts. But guess what? They know nothing about how a teacher's going to use it in the classroom, what they're dealing with while they're using it in the classroom, or even how to get it yet in the classroom. So I see the organizations such as AEP and SIIA very, very instrumental in helping with that. So I think, there's some things that I want to still see happen with technology, even though we have, we're in an era now where learning is taking place not only in the classroom, but outside the classroom through online learning, through the use of mobile devices. There's a couple things that I see happening, and that is that, it's becoming so much more global. When a teacher in, I think it was Florida the other day, figured out, well, Sal Khan can get millions of students. I could get a few more than the 30 that are in my classroom. So he did a video of one of his classrooms, and it's been viewed now, and he's set it up as a course, and probably at last count, 2,200 kids from around the world had just signed up and taken it, and had learned, because he gave a test at the end, had learned the concepts that he was trying to teach. Now, the effect of teachers going beyond just those face-to-face in the classroom is, I think, one of the best things we can be doing with technology. I do know, however, and this is part of some of the myths that we've been dealing with, technology will never replace the teacher. It can't, it shouldn't. The role may change, but we have very, very important roles. What I still want to see happen, with or without technology, but I think technology will help, is we need to reduce the dropout rate. I don't know how, I wish I had an answer, but that is becoming so severe a problem that it's got to be a #1 concern of anybody related to education. Personally, and probably selfishly, I want to see more STEM-focused graduates. Not just more graduates, STEM-focused graduates. There are so few kids graduating with either an interest and sufficient background in science and mathematics, engineering, and technology. Our companies cannot find the skilled labor that they need. They cannot find the engineers and the programmers and those who they want. They need to hire those folks. So, what can you do? You can go overseas, and that's not the answer, but it's an answer to getting your products out the door. So I would love to see that. I just want to see technology used successfully in the classroom, whether it's by students or by teachers, just just be used successfully. There's a lot of wrong ways and right ways, and it's different for every classroom. But I do believe that that's happening, and I'm just so pleased to have been a part of that whole history, I guess, of education technology since, yes, the 60s when I started. It's changed, and I really appreciate being part of it. I appreciate being here, and so much appreciate being honored by this great group of people. Thank you.